Dodo, Africa's hidden nightmare. The sun had barely risen when the stepmother called the girl from her mat. Her voice was sharp, cold like a blade dipped in the morning chill. "Wake up, lazy girl," she hissed. "The firewood won't fetch itself." The girl rubbed her eyes and stood without complaint. She knew better than to protest. Her stepmother was not a woman of patience or kindness. Her father had died 2 harvests ago, and since then, the woman treated her more like a slave than a child. She was sent on errands that stretched for miles, fed scraps, and beaten for the smallest mistake. On this morning, the stepmother handed her a woven basket and pointed toward the distant part of the forest, the path no one ever entered, not even the men who hunted with poisoned arrows and drummed feet. "Go deep," she said. "The good wood is there. Do not return with twigs and nonsense." The girl hesitated, staring into the dense line of trees far beyond the familiar trail. "But no one goes there," she whispered. "I said go," the woman snapped, shoving her forward. "Unless you want to starve again tonight." So the girl walked, her bare feet brushing morning dew from the grass, her thoughts quiet but heavy. She passed the part of the forest she knew, the fallen tree that looked like a crouching lion, the ant mound where red termites danced like flames. She passed the spot where birds always sang and the small pool where her father once bathed her as a child. Then she crossed the invisible line. The trees thickened. The light dimmed. The air turned still, heavy, and strange. She walked deeper, watching the tall trees bend inward like elders with secrets. The silence was almost loud. Even the birds seemed afraid to sing here. The girl stopped and reached for a thick branch on the ground when a voice came, not from behind, not from above, but from everywhere. "Who walks in my forest?" She froze. The voice was not human. It growled and groaned, deep as thunder and sharp as rusted metal. "Who dares steal from Dodo?" The girl's hands shook. She turned slowly and saw him, emerging from behind a tree thicker than a heart. The thing was massive, with skin like burned bark and eyes that glowed like hot coals. Its teeth were long and crooked, and from its mouth dripped something dark and thick. It moved like a shadow but breathed like a storm. I was sent," she stammered, falling to her knees. "My stepmother sent me. I didn't know, please, I didn't know." The creature laughed, a terrible, low sound that seemed to make the leaves tremble. "Then I will eat you, bone by bone." The girl's heart pounded in her chest. Her mind raced. She was no warrior. She had no spear or charm or even a prayer. But she had something else, something her father once told her was more powerful than strength, her voice. "Before you eat me," she said, her voice trembling but clear, "let me sing for you." Dodo blinked. It had eaten hundreds, warriors, witches, even the occasional spirit foolish enough to wander into its wood. None had offered to sing. "Sing," it said. "Yes," she whispered. "Let me sing once, and then you may eat me." Dodo laughed again. "Sing, then. Sing your last song." So the girl began to sing. Her voice was soft at first, like the rustle of leaves. But soon it grew, sweet and sorrowful, a melody that wound through the trees like smoke. She sang of rivers and stars, of her father's arms, of fireflies and forgotten dreams. She sang of pain and hope and the small joy of rain on a hot roof. She sang not to Dodo, but to the forest, to the trees and roots and all the old spirits listening in the shadows. Dodo sat, its head tilted. Its eyes blinked slowly. The girl's voice carried memories, things it hadn't felt in centuries. Hunger began to fade. Sleep crept in. The girl, seeing this, slowly stepped back. Still singing, she reached for the thick vine hanging from the tree behind her. She climbed, quietly, carefully, higher and higher, until she perched in the crook of a branch far above the forest floor. Below, Dodo dozed, lulled by the echo of her song. But then, the wind shifted. Her foot slipped slightly, and a small twig snapped. Dodo's eyes shot open. "Where are you?" it snarled, sniffing the air. "Where are you, little bird?" The girl held her breath. Dodo roared and began thrashing through the forest, ripping branches and shaking trees. The ground shook as it moved. Birds screamed and fled. The girl clung to the tree, praying not to fall. Eventually, the monster gave up. But it did not leave. It waited. It sat beneath the tree, snarling softly. "You cannot hide forever," it said. "You will come down. And when you do, I will eat your heart first." The girl waited all day. Her arms ached. Her stomach growled. But she dared not move. As night fell, the cold crept in, and the forest turned black. Still, Dodo waited. Meanwhile, back in the village, a boy, her childhood friend, noticed her absence. He went to her stepmother. "She hasn't returned," he said. "Where did she go?" "To fetch firewood," the woman replied, too quickly. "In the cursed part of the forest?" he asked, eyes narrowing. "She's a lazy child," the woman spat. "Probably hiding somewhere." But the boy was not convinced. That night, he went to the elders. The next morning, the village hunters were gathered. They painted their faces and tied charms to their wrists. They lit torches and sharpened blades. The forest had not been crossed in many years, but they would go, for the girl, for her father's name, for their own honor. They entered the forest in silence, following her tracks, listening to the whispers of the wind. The trees grew thicker. The air grew colder. And then they saw it, a clearing torn apart, trees clawed and broken. And beneath one of them, they saw Dodo. The monster stood as they approached, towering over them, grinning with bloodlust. "More meat," it said. The hunters did not run. They beat their drums. They shouted names of gods and ancestors. They held spears and swung machetes. The forest rang with the clash of war. Dodo fought like a demon, its claws tearing, its teeth snapping. But the hunters were brave. They surrounded it, burned its limbs, cut its hide. And above them all, the girl sang again. She sang from the tree, her voice high and bright, like the morning sun breaking through storm clouds. The song gave the hunter strength. It confused Dodo. Its limbs faltered. Its eyes rolled. With a final roar, it collapsed, burning, bleeding, broken. The girl climbed down at last, weak and shaking. The hunters carried her back through the forest, torchlight guiding the way. When she returned to the village, people wept and sang. Children touched her hands. Elders blessed her. Her stepmother, exposed and humiliated, was cast out, never to return. The girl grew. Her voice remained her weapon, her magic, her light. And though she never spoke of that night again, she often sat by the fire and sang to the children songs of rivers and stars, of brave hearts and sharp minds, and of the monster who once listened to her voice and forgot to kill. And somewhere, deep in the oldest part of the forest, under twisted trees and silent skies, the wind still carries her song. And the earth remembers.